Hello everybody. So let's just get into this immediately and get into talking about Zou. So it starts with volume 80 and we've actually finally left Dressrosa, which is at this point very thankful because we've been in Dressrosa forever, and you know what? I realized that volume 80 still does have Dressrosa, so it's like the never end of Dressrosa. But seriously, it is pretty great to see the way it is wrapped up with Fujitora and stuff, and I think that's pretty important to see Luffy and Fujitora fight it out, and to eventually see like Fujitora not tell anybody that they're leaving or that he doesn't really challenge him, and the Straw Hat Grand Fleet being assembled. I think those are all very important things. But then once we get to Zou, we start getting reveals like up the ass. Like we get like Edward Weevil and his manipulative mom, and he's a warlord, so we get the last warlord revealed. We get freaking Zou being revealed as a giant elephant. We get, so many different characters that show up. We get Dragon, who couldn't care less that Luffy exists, even though he's his father. That's great. Then we get, Buggy actually displaying, like, his delivery service, and then him actually having a final panel where he's actually pretty annoyed with our boy Luffy. So maybe that'll actually mean something at some point, but knowing One Piece, probably not. Probably not for decades. So once they're on Zou, I mean, it's a climb to get to Zou, because I'm just assuming Zou's a female for some reason, but Zanisha, once they get to her, it's that much more interesting for them to just climb up there. And it's a differing island than what they usually are used to. So once they get there, I think it's really great. The way they use the lighting is really awesome. Kara attacking Zoro is pretty cool because we actually get to see the Minks use this like lightning thing, and like why is the dog wearing like Nami's clothes? And then we actually see all of the Minks in their glory, and we actually get, the more we get to see them, the better it is. Especially people like Beppo. Like we didn't even know he was a Minx for a while until now. We know for sure he's a Minx, and then once we actually see them fight. Like, I don't know, like, once we actually see the torture part and all that, it really, like, gets to you, It gets to me anyways. So, yeah, volume 81 works out in the same way. Like, usually they run into an island, but this time, when they run onto an island and see the tragedy, their crew is kind of part of it. You can see Brook, the way he's all messed up, at least looks like it, and they're all in different garb and stuff, so it's pretty clear. But now we get to see what happens with Big Mom, and Capone Beige is apparently a part of Big Mom's ship, so that's kind of interesting. But the way they get rid of Big Mom's ship pretty easily, pretty great. Big Mom's ship is apparently animated for some reason, and it's pretty cool that they have a king for the day and a king for the night, with the cat in the night and the dog in the day, as they're both nocturnal and not nocturnal species. I don't remember what the other one is, but it's even like little like pages like this are pretty cool, where we get to see like people reacting to like God Usopp, his village. I think one day he's gonna leave with those three kids of his crew. The gate's been breached, and then once we actually see like this backstory of Jack, and Sheepshead seemed like a fodder character. I feel like the problem with Kaido is that other than his all-star group, the fodder are just ridiculously weak, because Sanji took him out like nothing, like he was trash. And later in this arc, we find out that that's kind of the case. Look at these guys. I mean, they don't look like they're intimidating at all, the gifters. So once they actually get to Wano and fight them at someday, I don't see that being that much of a problem with those people, but the higher-ups definitely. So it's like, and they actually start to heal some of these people. Chopper does. Chopper does a pretty great job in this whole thing. I think that was really great. I mean, you know, once we get into the island and we get into the tragedy, that's when we start to get. I think it's pretty unique though the way that this entire island took the antagonist took place in the past, and you know, like the character designs are very unique and very interesting. You know, at first I'm not really pleased with how they look until you actually get to meet them and like their struggles. And Jack, it's pretty cool because he's a billion bounty. It's not. I don't think it's a big deal because by the end of the series, people like Dragon will probably have a trillion bounty or something, and it'll be like, wow, remember when billion was something? It was, you know, now looking back, and once that happens, it'll like a million, you look like a bitch. So, in terms of like them actually using Caesar is pretty funny because he's actually hecka useful. Like, you know, not only is he useful, but like at the end of the day, Caesar's actually like he could be a decent guy. He just wasn't such a scumbag. So he kind of deactivates his own weapon that, you know, kind of took care of all the poison. And I mean, they got their limbs cut off. Like, I don't think in One Piece we've really seen severed limbs, but here we do. So it's pretty cool that he gets rid of the poison. And then after that, we see we see a lot of them. You know, a lot of the minks kind of really respect the heck out of the Straw Hats. Like, pretty much everybody does. It's interesting. I saw a video by Mr. Moj. I had to, you know, skip some of it, but most of it I'm getting to the point where I can watch videos like that and kind of understand what he's talking about because I'm pretty much all caught up except for one arc. But the way he talks about the Dawn is very similar. How everyone reacts to like the Straw Hats, like they are kind of the guardians of the world, basically. Here's another really great deck. I mean, Nami's sister looks a lot older, and I don't remember. I will never remember his name. But yeah, it's pretty cool because we actually get introduced to. Well, we get introduced back to that guy that showed up at Fishman Island. Not Pedro. Pedro is another guy, but he's an okay guy. You know, the Lion Minx guy. I'm blanking on his name right now, but he is a pretty great addition. He actually cares about his hometown a lot. But then when Capone Bridge steps in, he just like shoots him, and it's like, wow, nice job, bro. Total scumbag. Like. And, like, people actually like him still, and I don't really understand. He just reminds me of a fatter Kizaru, and, like, man, if he actually does something, that'd be great, but in the long terms of things, yeah, his devil fruit is just, it's interesting, but it looks lame as hell, bro. Like, so what, you can live in a castle, what is that gonna do? It's just it's a trash devil fruit, and it really doesn't do anything. So what, you can shoot little bullets or like hide people. When there's like Magu Magu and, you know, the Gura Gura no Mi or Gora Gora no Mi or Ito Ito no Mi, like those are all so much better. Like, geez. And then the concept of space fruits, like, man, some of these other devil fruits, it's like the bounty thing. They're gonna look weak eventually. But other than that, I think it's pretty cool that like we get introduced to some new people. Some people that look really different, some, you know, like straight up conflict with the whole Big Mom thing, because now this is like a ongoing conflict, and it explains why Sanji's poster was alive only, but the fact that he like sacrificed himself as he throws him out is pretty tragic. Yeah, definitely something that, you know, is building towards something greater. I didn't think it was going to be building towards another arc. That's a little bit insane. But I just love... Pedro is a pretty great character so far, and by the end of this... Yeah, by the end of the next volume, we actually find out that he's supposedly a captain of something. So, that's something there. Yeah, and then a family of killers. Now, I just got into reading Hunter x Hunter, and as soon as I heard that line, it reminded me of Kiryu's family. Vivi. Vivi will always be a fan favorite. Like, I always miss when she's not there. Yeah, they're warmongers, German 66, so there's something. There's something important. We don't really know what they are now. Peckhams, that was his name. But it is interesting that some of the Zoan people, Zoanians, or I don't know, like the minks themselves, they actually cover their eyes. Like this guy's wearing sunglasses, and he's always out and around. So it's interesting because a lot of them have some kind of hats or garbs or something. Like Pedro has hair in his eyes. One of his eyes seemed to be missing. So I don't know if he lost it before or after, so that's kind of interesting. So there's this mention of this wedding again, and I think that's going to be pretty key. But like Luffy's like, nah, you're going to take me to him, which is like classic. And then at the same time, Zoro, he's like, oh yeah, Zoro, you're worried about Sanji, and he's like, I ain't worried about him. And to be honest, I'm not either. Like he's missed in some regards, but not really. It's pretty great that Law got to meet up with his crew again, because he said a part that I was kind of, I didn't even think about it, was when he said that he wasn't really ever planning to see his crew again because he's planning to die against fighting Doflamingo, and it's like, damn. So I'm not really sure how that would have worked. But his crew would have just been there forever? I mean, I don't know. I like little panels like this one, but it's like the panic of finding out that there's samurai in there and they don't like samurai is pretty great. And then as soon as they find out that, Kanjuro and Kinemon get up there and it's like, oh shit, like shit's about to go down. Yeah, see, I love the reacting pieces. It's weird because the anime will never actually add that in, which is the weirdest thing ever. You would think they would just have an episode adding those things in, but you know, it would still be canon. So once they actually, like, these two guys fight, which is pretty shocking because, you know, they weren't supposed to ever, like, see each other again because that's all they do is clash because they're the day and the night. So then once we get to that point, you know, I was kind of shocked that Kinemon just flat out got out there, and, like, that made me think, like, dude, what are you doing? You know, especially because he's so obvious, looking like a samurai, and then we get Raizo is safe and well. And I think this is done so much better in the anime, actually, because it's legit, like, in a very emotional moment. Because they lost their limbs, their kingdom, the Mokodoma kingdom, got completely destroyed. Like, it's bad. It's really, what the heck? It's bad. Like, it's, you know, and the fact that they would never sell out a comrade is pretty significant. So now we get to 82. And boy, 82 is just the same kind of thing. Same wave. Like, it just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. We get the Kozuki clan, like, the emblem. We get, like, Momonosuke showing up again. You know, I'm not a big Momo fan, but it is cool that he'll be a dragon. It's interesting that he says he met Roger. I'm not really... I don't know how about that. I don't know how that makes sense. But maybe Wano is in a time freeze time, and you know the whole country, I don't know, like it's stuck in a time, something like that. Because I've heard a theory out there about that, just the title of it purely, and that kind of makes sense. So then once we get Raizo, it's like kind of funny, just because like, well, what kind of a ninja is he, you know? But then again, like. It is pretty sad that like he didn't want to like have the Minks die because he was friends with them. Look at that Luffy face. That's just priceless. So he's like, forgive me, all that, because the kingdom got destroyed. But then again, like there's a red poneglyph, so like Jack was kind of an idiot. So like he could have actually did something, but it's stupid. And so he's like, you know. Since then we get Raftel mentioned again. It's always kind of foggy whenever we see Raftel, and it's like the explanation is you got to find the 3 red poneglyphs, and that's how you get there, or road poneglyphs. And then once we get to talk about this, there's the Rio poneglyphs. Like there's a whole explanation, which is pretty nice. A lot of bombs dropped there, and then so 2 of them were in the possessions of Yonko, and one of them's on Zo's. So it's like Robin. And Alabasta said it took her 20 years or something that she was like looking for these. It's like that's why, you know, she couldn't find them. And then one of the poneglyphs is like the explanation of you just taking the information off them. So that's something. You know, so Luffy and them are. Luffy's not really interested in it, and that's fine. But you would think. I wonder how he's gonna react to the information that Robin eventually finds out. I love this picture of Robin. In fact, I drew it. Wish I could show it right now, but I don't have it with me. But yeah, honestly, I would be really fascinated eventually how Luffy's going to react to the news of the Void Century and the world, you know. Because we're actually starting to get some stuff, and then we actually see, like, all the, like, they used to be Lord Odin's retainers, which coincides with the feudal Japan, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so Zoro is going to have a ball in Wano when they get there at some point, which will be, I'm guessing, a while, because we got whole cake now. So it's pretty cool because they all want to open up Wano's borders, like Lord Odin said, and that's pretty cool. Or Odin Kazuki, and it is pretty interesting because they also mentioned that he was kind of a young cabin boy on Goldie Roger's ship. They're all on Goldie Roger's ship, and so, like, there's this emotional moment where he says he wants to defeat Kaido, and Momo, it's like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, Kaido's kind of a beast, and so we actually get a tiny little bit of dialogue from Kaido. I feel like he's a brute, and he's never gonna, like, say any words, but he's like, no, I'll take Kaido down for you. It's pretty cool. But it's like, well, Luffy's gonna take him down anyways. But it's cool that they have an alliance, a pirate, whatever. Pirate, ninja pirate means samurai alliance. So that's they're friends. Even though Law says no, it's an alliance, it's different. And so they have a lot of, like, there's just so much information that's just dropped here. And it is pretty crazy. So then we actually have the payback war with Blackbeard and Marco the Phoenix, which is, like, kind of sad that the Whitebeard pirates were just completely eliminated. I don't know the extent of that. I don't think anyone does. I'm not sure. Maybe now, but at least not for a while. And then I love how, like, it kind of looks for, like, Raizo for a second is actually mad at the Minx, but then he just ends up, like, joining them, and he says he loves them. Which, you know, I would too if they risked their lives in Kingdom. And we get, like, some really cool, like full-on, like, pages like that, like, spreads. I hope they get different attire on different islands, because they already did on Whole Cake, so it'll be interesting. And then we get this eye. Look at how Zanisha has that eye again. Now, it's interesting, I like to point that out, because Cavendish had the eye. Very, you know, Mihawk, very certain people have that ringed eye, and it's usually yellow. So, I'm going to say that that's probably pretty significant. Like, you have to actually be able to see one of the ancient weapons, like Uranus. In order to see that, you have to have an eye like that. So, but you just see the massive scale of Zanisha. It says that I love how she destroys Jack, but it's interesting because she says that there was a time when she did a crime, and so she's had to walk for millennium, you know, just constantly moving. I'm not really sure what she could have done, but it is interesting. And then Vivi, of course, we actually get to full on see her in action, and like on the pirate ship or their ship. You know, but she, like, kind of pretends that she's a pirate, so which is pretty cool. We see all these other kingdoms ally, so clearly there's going to be another arc before Wano, where at least a little bit, because the Revolution Army is kind of, you know, they're found by Blackbeard and stuff, so they're going to get brought up at some point. And then Carrot, I think Carrot fits the crew dynamic a lot, and I love that she's part of this little journey they have. So I love how Luffy finally sees his father, and the only thing he cared about is Sabo, but, you know, his father never cared about him, so it makes sense. Yeah, and so then Kaido is just pissed about Kid. In fact, he sends these guys, I don't know if you guys understand this, but he sends these, like, guys, and, like, he shatters the sky, like, he just blasts them. It's kind of a weird panel, because it looks like they're in a cave or something, but the Kid's dead. He looks pretty dead to me. And then the Eggman from Sonic shows up. But then we have Pudding, and, like, Sanji's already losing over Pudding, and she looks a lot like that girl from Fishman Island. Just her hair, type of style and stuff. So the ship yet again is alive, so clearly they're going to have to explain that. But the fact is, like, Capone's men are just brutes. Like, they fit his personality as bland, nothing. The door is also alive on the ship, so I don't know if it's just the ship or it's the island itself. But we do know that a lot of it's with candy, and this is kind of cool with, like, Mihawk and all of them with straw hats. They're different straw hats, though, than the ones Jammer 66 shows up, and that's kind of like, holy crap, like, they all look like Sanji, so they could be clones. I think that would make the most sense, because even, like, the Raiju also looks a lot like Sanji. And I like Raiju a lot. She's actually really nice. She actually heals Luffy, whether it's her own benefit, but she didn't need to go out of her way, you know. And then we get this small panel with Aladdin, I think his name was, from way back on Fishman Island when they mentioned him. Yeah, and this is pretty cool. The Grand Fleets when they look like kids. And then we actually get to see Carrot and Ami in their outfits. Then we actually get to see them in Whole Cake. You know, this is, of course, a different arc, which is kind of crazy because these 3 volumes deal a lot with different arcs. But I just love that Pudding is there. It actually helps them. Like, that's pretty important. And then once they actually get to Zou, like, the finish, it's like, well, you know, now it's Total Land that they're in. You know, Pudding has saved them, but what is her real ideals? And then when you watch in the manga, I just love how she says, Mu Gi Wada. Like, it's actually kind of intimidating. So, to be honest, it's a really good section of volumes, just pure volumes. You know, I like reading them in paper sometimes. But to be honest, that's probably the best, like, trio, because you have the end of Dressrosa, that has a lot of importance, and then you have Zou that has major reveals, like, every chapter, it seems like, once we actually get to that second half of Zou. And then it's just Whole Cake Island, and I don't know how long we're going to be on Whole Cake Island, or Toto Land, however you want to, I don't know which way you say it. But that's, it could be a Dressrosa style, and so I'm just wondering now with another arc after that, like, when are we going to get to Wano, because I want to see Zoro interact with Swordsman. But I think it's pretty cool. It was one of my favorite arcs, probably the whole series. It was beautiful. The anime did a huge job of making it just look golden and amazing. So yeah, if you want to check out the rest, if you ever want to check out any arc in One Piece, I would for sure say so. Like, I don't often praise the arcs that much, but it was gorgeous. It's kind of a little bit, you kind of got a little get past the Minks themselves, but once you do get, like, their appearance, it's so much worth it. Like, and Inuarashi and Nekomamushi, I can't wait to actually see them do some damage. And now the whole crew is split up. So it's pretty interesting. I don't know who's going to actually look for Marco. I forgot to mention that, but they're looking for Marco. So that's Nekomamushi and Inuarashi and Momo are there on Zou, and Zoro and Law. As long as they have Zoro and Law, could be a pretty cool team up. So definitely pretty excited for that. So yeah, this arc definitely made me more excited for future arcs. So yeah, really happy about that. So I'll do other videos like Dressrosa at some point. So till then.